Hello, this is Gresh here from the CEO Chat podcast, and I have an awesome guest and an awesome conversation that we're going to have. Inga. Inga, super excited to have you on and talk a lot around some really phenomenal topics we have today.
Absolutely. Likewise, I'm thrilled.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm thrilled as well, too. And I think one of the reasons is because Inga and we've connected a few times. And the last conversation we had, this is where this idea kind of started to snowball, where we were talking a lot around fear and how fear can manifest itself in so many different ways and how it shows up in your life, it show up in your business, and you're trying to start a business, so many different things. So I figured that probably would be the best place that we can kind of start everything. Inga, so what is, you have such a background, you're talking with so many people, you're guiding them through their life, things that they want to do, that they're not sure if they should do. Like how and what does fear actually look like and how does it kind of, show up in the people that you work with?
Good question. So I personally now where I am, looking back, I can say with confidence, Grass, that fear will always be around us. Make a decision that why try to haggle with it? Because I make a decision that fear, I cannot get rid of fear totally. I can navigate around it. So that is the first thing that I do and make a commitment with myself. Don't fuss over it. Fear will always be here. So just make it a friend, like, a company in your life. Not every friend you have in life you like, but you live with them. You can play with them. You can still hang out with them. Not 100% that you are in sync with them. So I consider fear like that. So that's the first thing I think that we must make an agreement with ourselves.
Absolutely. And that ends up being like such a huge thing because I think so many times I feel like we don't really fully understand what fear is. And, I think there's this idea of like, I want to get rid of fear. I don't want, fear to be around, but I don't know, find that I feel like fear always comes up. Sometimes it comes up even before you're kind of aware of it because it's those emotional human, feelings that we have. And it could
Right.
sometimes debilitate or stop you from doing like sometimes the great things that you're set out or called to do.
Yeah. So you mentioned about normalizing it or neutralizing it. So just neutralize it. Make it normal. It's neutral. It's not good. It's not bad. It's just there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I wonder too, like, how do people like go about like neutralizing it? Because I remember when we chatted last time, I had a really big fear of heights and I decided to go
Mm, mm,
skydiving. And I went
mm,
skydiving because I'm still not 100% sure like where that fear came from. Because I was actually listening to my
mm.
parents not too long ago and they were saying I was too short at one time to go on all the roller coaster rides. And I would be upset because I couldn't go on anything. And then somehow years later, this fear has developed and I don't even know where it came from. So I went skydiving largely because I wanted to kind of, I don't want to say neutralize the fear or even face the fear. I just wanted to call it what it was. And sometimes it's those internal
Mm,
things that you build up in
mm,
your head and in your mind and in
mm,
your heart and everywhere.
mm.
And it doesn't allow you to take those steps. So for me, it was very, very freeing and symbolic to some degree. But like, how do we go about like doing those things? What are some of the things that you've seen and, you kind of talk with them?
Yeah, over time and through my training working with a mentor, a coach in my work as a dream builder coach, I have four, I should call it four things that we can consider. So fear in my life shows up in different shape and form. So distraction or delay is a form of fear, but it shows up as a delay and say, oh, do it later. Or something else actually shows up and say, oh, you have to do A, B, C first because it's more urgent. It's actually fear in disguise, the way I see it. So delay, distraction, dissuasion. Dissuasion is when in my mind it was busy, for instance, oh, I am longing to actually, I've always been inkling, I want to start a business, say. And I know I love it if I do it. I really understand the feeling of sharing something that I have with other people in the form of business to help, for instance. Or to sell something. If you are in the franchise business, correct? People choose something that they love because there's got to be a reason why this is important. Not just the money part, but there is something about that business. When I do that business, this is what the impact I want to create, for instance. And then in the mind, there is a dissuasion or many dissuasions and saying this, do you really want to? Do you remember? You started a business before. It's much smaller than this and you failed. This is now much bigger than that. Are you cut for it? This is dissuasion because all the noise in the mind trying to defeat you. That's another one. The other one,
Real quick on
yes,
that, the
yeah.
distribution. So, like, and it's funny, like, I find that, when I'm talking with, franchise candidates, especially too, like, I chatted with somebody and they actually had gone through the process before, and then
Mm,
they were getting closer to getting finished, going through it with
mm,
me. And some of those
mm.
things kind of come up, those questions and things like that. And I think so many times, I don't know if it's along the same lines, it's like kind of almost
Yes.
doubting what you know that you want to do,
Mhm.
finding a reason to not do it, and I feel like
Do
that
it.
sometimes comes up. I never really thought of that being that fear part, but it
It's
seems
part
like
of
it
it.
could be such a huge thing because we could be our own best or worst enemies, it sounds like, in
Absolutely.
stopping us from doing those things.
Yes. That's why neutralizing the first one, so making an agreement, what is fear for me? Making an agreement way ahead of time is going to make us flow through the process much easier. If I already agree, hey, I cannot get rid of fear, let it be. Let this voice be a guidance for me. Don't listen totally when it doesn't sit well with me. I can question it. Is it really true? If I have already failed before, but that was before, I'm much better now. I'm working with Crash now. I was trying to do it myself. Now I have somebody who guides me. Am I going to fail again? Well, maybe. But hey, if this is so important to just not me and my life and my family, but the impact I want to create for other people, worth doing it again. Conversation in the mind should be shifted from dissuasion to more empowering. And usually, if you work with somebody who can guide you, a coach, a mentor, this mentor can be the sounding board that can actually representing the voice of inspiration or empowerment instead of the dissuasion.
Yeah, that ends up being such a huge thing. It's funny, like with candidates that I speak with, like you can't always guarantee success, and I think that's one of the
Yeah.
things that you find around life, business, is
Mhm.
that kind of all around is that you can't
Mhm.
guarantee it, but you try to get as
Mhm.
close to guaranteeing as possible. And usually you do that by reaching out to when we try to guide clients through or candidates through. We try to help them to have an understanding of documents like the FDD, which is a franchise disclosure document. You can literally go through it and find all of the
Mm,
information
mm,
around a franchise
mm.
that people don't know. You can see how people are performing. You can see exactly like how much you're investing. All those things don't, again, guarantee your success, but it starts to allow you to get that breadcrumb of like, hey, this is what success might look like. And very much so similarly, I feel like once you understand what success can look like, you can start to emulate that or do the things that you need much more in a franchise. But it sounds
Yeah,
the same thing around fears. Like,
yeah,
I don't think there's enough conversation around fear where we don't know what it is. So we're kind of
yeah,
afraid of fear, which I don't even know if that makes sense, where you
yeah,
don't even know how to operate or even say that, hey, I'm not going to get rid of you, but I'm going to be able to ask questions like, is that really a reason not to like move forward in franchising or move forward in whatever it is that you might have in your
absolutely. That is, you hit the point there, Grash, is here. I think the more and more I learn about this in my own experience, I can feel fear more or fear is more powerful when I have no clarity or specificity on why I want to do something. Say in this case, it's a business, right? Initial idea may show up as, oh, instead of working for other people, you can be your own boss. So that's the first voice shows up. And then another voice will show up and say, do you think you can be that? You've never been a boss before. And then you start doubting yourself. Oh, because in our human experience, we are trained and programmed to actually just say, I can be successful if I have already the experience. Well, when we learn how to bike, we didn't have the experience driving, cooking, all the other things. It's the same formula. We make it big because it's a business. It's not just like cooking. If I fail in cooking, hey, I can throw away, I can buy new ingredients and make again. With business, it's the mind who actually perceive it that way. The formula is exactly the same. Well, fail, try again, do something different. I still want to do. If I love that dish, I'm going to continue making an attempt until I really, really love. The same with business. That's why you work with people, a coach like you, who already know the process. So you can guide them. And the people who decide that, yes, I want to explore this route, must decide and say, yes, I want it. Don't just dip your toes in the water kind of thing. It's not a decision. You must decide, I'm all in. If it doesn't work halfway, you can still redecide, but do not take a step simply because you are actually quarreling with your own mind, saying that, what if it's failed? What am I gonna do if it's failed? I lose money. People are messing around with the voice that doesn't support them. This is
Yeah, and I think we chatted around that because I think so many times, we've evolved as humans and the world's evolved. We have all these snazzy tools and technology and AI and all these things like that. But very much so, like from a human perspective, I think, and I've always heard, you sometimes associate starting a business or taking a job, whatever it might be. And I know you're having these conversations with the same feeling as being chased by a bear. Like we literally have the
uh-huh.
same kind of primitive fear and association
Yes.
with fear that we see it as that and not realizing that, frankly, it's not a bear, but two, like there may be other steps or other ways, or you can adjust and change and just
Right.
all those things to kind of, cope with and navigate fear, which I think ends up being so powerful.
Right. That's another good point, Grass, because the primitive inclination, because that was not that far away, only a couple of 3,000 years ago, when when humans lived just based on reactive kind of activity. Either it is nature or wild animal, right? So we must be always on guard to either fight whatever is coming or flight, run away if we think this is too big, or we feast. If it's a big bear, if you just be quiet like a tree, it's not gonna do you. So only those three that we learned, and it's already in our being, whole being, the DNA. Either you fight it, you flight, or you freeze. We still inherited those three things up until now. But we are much better now. But somehow deep inside, subconsciously is already grounded. We still react that way, right? It says either I fight it, so you become defensive, or you run away and just, suppress it within your own self, or not doing anything. That's what stuck is all about. Instead of being inquisitive, curious, ask the question. Ask the question within yourself. My mentor actually taught me one quote that is very interesting. She said, the quality of the question you ask yourself determine the quality of the result you will create or you will receive. So this is again, nobody's fault. We were trained that way by life and we inherited all this thinking from previous generation. For instance, a great example my mentor taught me before or shared with me. She said, imagine this. If you ask yourself, what can I do to be in France, for instance, pick a country that you truly love to go to. What can I do being in France for 2 weeks and not lose money? Because when you travel, you're going to spend money. So the question is, what can I do to be in France for 2 weeks and not lose money? So imagine the answers to this kind of question. You're going to find ways, and most probably you're going to say, oh, just go to a motel or backpacking so you don't spend too much money on lodging. Eat or cook as much as you could so you don't have to buy. Or buy just simple kind of thing. So in a way, that is also traveling, but you don't truly enjoy it if you limit yourself to what you could spend. One way of asking. And then a different way, that's more quality kind of question, is doing this. What can I do to be in France for 2 weeks and make $10,000? Interesting, right? I never thought about it before. And I thought, yeah, why do we always think just from scarcity that traveling equals spending money? Because that's what we learned in life. So we tend to ask the same question like that. But the minute we change the question to, what can I do to be in France for 2 weeks and make $10,000? Imagine the answers. And then it could just show up and say, oh, connect with somebody. Find a way that you can actually work there or speak. Find a way to speak and get paid. And that's what happened with her. She was talking to different people. She got a speaking engagement, $10,000. So she got to go with spending as minimum money as possible. She got to enjoy the travel. She got to actually also speak and make money. So we must learn asking this kind of question. We tend to ask questions based on what we are seeing right now in our life, the circumstances. So we ask the question, what can I do? I would love to have a business, but I don't have the money. So it looks like a question, but it's actually a statement. And the statement has something to do with you already decided that you're not going to be able to do this in a way like that. So we must be aware of that.
Yeah, I appreciate you so much in sharing that because I do get those conversations where sometimes people say, oh, that's expensive or that's a lot. And it's all in how you look at that and where you're operating from. If you're operating from more of the abundant mentality or the scarcity. And if you're saying scarcity, you're like, hey, that's a cost. But if you're looking at it, when you're going through that FDD document, you're saying, hey, I'm investing this here. I'm doing investing this in marketing or this. Why am I paying this amount? But I think a lot of it is like, what can it open you up to do when you're going to France? Like now you open up yourself to an entirely different opportunity. When you sign up,
Absolutely.
for this franchise, you're opening yourself up to an entirely different opportunity. So I think it's all in. It sounds like the way that you're operating, but it very much so sounds like it's aligned with fear because if you have that scarcity mindset, which I imagine is like maybe not brother and sister, but maybe cousins to fear at least,
Yes,
it can
yes,
stop
yes.
you from like being able to kind of see the abundance that might be
Absolutely.
there or the opportunity.
Yeah. So to me, Grass, the first important thing when we want to do anything, it doesn't have to just wanting a business, anything in life. We must train ourselves to create that vision first. I call it vision or goal, if you want to call it. The vision of how do I see it, feel it, hear it, taste it, touch it, when what I want actually already come to fruition. How does it feel? How does it smell? How does it it's very important to have the goal in mind. Or other people say it this way, the end. You start with the end in mind. So you have interviewed many people, Crash, right? Of people. Those who wanted to do business, you have helped them, channeled them to different kind of businesses, franchises that you represent. What do you think that keep coming back to people that you notice of all the many people you have helped? What is the similarities that stop people from moving forward, setting up a business around this thing?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it in, whether it be franchises or even, traditional or other businesses, I'll call them, it all revolves around, like you said, that vision that you have, the mission and the why behind it. Because I think for just about everything, you can find a reason why not to do that. You
Mm,
find a way to do it better. But you often find that a lot of people that are really, really focused on where they want to go, they start
mm-hmm.
to have this really great relationship with time where, I don't want to say they're
Mm,
managing time, but they understand the opportunity with time. And whether it be a
mm,
franchise or you're comparing a franchise to starting, from scratch a business,
mm,
or even
mm,
sometimes even buying a business, you're often looking at like, how can I maximize the time that I have so that I can, get to where I want to be? Because I have this vision, I have this dream. And often those people that are having those conversations, it ends up becoming different than saying, oh, that's too much, or why do I have to pay this amount? You start to see that it's an investment. And with that investment, it allows you to open up so many doors for your life, honestly. And a lot of times people, they want to spend time with their significant other. They want to spend time with their kids. They want to go travel. They want to, go to France and they want to do all these things. But to really unlock that, you want to be able to make sure that you're maximizing the time that you have. And I think that's one of the things that you see that I see and I have talked with, many people and have been
Uh-huh.
interviews is they're very, 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 very deliberate and impactful with the time that they have. They don't always spend it in, the best way, but you often don't find them wasting it as much as people that sometimes are on the other end of the coin with that.
Right. Interesting you said that because we talked earlier about, there you go. That is one form of fear, the delay, the distraction. And this is very interesting, Grass, when we look deeper into that. The voice in the mind that delays us or distracts us actually sounds very practical by saying, hey, do research first. Do more research. It's a delay, actually. Why do you need to do more research? You can start alongside doing research, but take action. Decide and say, yes, I want it. Second of all, this is in the mind. If they meet somebody like you who is experienced in guiding people to start a business, franchisee, you can talk more about this. It is all available, thousands of opportunity out there. Why do people not wanting to even just explore and look and say there are a lot of things. I'm just thinking about, for instance, like we all want to go places and we want to everybody wants to have a vehicle, a car to go places. But we didn't have to actually create the car. There are plenty of cars out there that we can buy, right? Why? Now, this is interesting. What do you see the difference there, Grass, as you guide people, coach people, handhold people to explore the opportunity of business between franchisee or starting from scratch?
Yeah, definitely started from scratch. Even people that, I'm in the DC area, so we're
Mm,
experiencing a lot of layoffs as well too. So people that,
sure.
have had their futures completely changed and, life isn't
Mm-hmm.
always what, they thought it would be. But it's funny that you had brought up that curiosity part. And I love the analogy between like looking at cars, because like you're going
Mm-hmm.
car shopping, so to speak, you're looking, you're test driving, you're seeing what the
Mm-hmm.
reviews are, you're doing all those things, which I love, like the FDD document that I talked about gives you a lot of that, awareness and information. But I almost feel like there's this lack of desire or lack of maybe even how to be
Mm,
curious. And I think when people
mm,
start to really like ask questions, start to be curious, but do it in a way that it's not, fear related, but do it in a way so that they can
mm,
learn more. I think that's something that is kind of maybe even an art or a skill that people don't even realize that's available to you. And I think as we kind of go through this world, we take things for what they are. This is the way
mhm,
that it was. This is the way it always will be.
mhm,
And I think that
mhm,
mentality, it could be very limiting, could be along that scarcity mindset. So I find that the people that really are able to succeed are those asking those questions, and not just asking the questions about how the car, how does it
mhm,
drive, but how does it fit? How does it match what I'm trying to starting to see how it
mhm,
fits into their lives. And I think when you're able
mhm.
to, again, just ask those questions, be action oriented in terms of that, it can open up a tremendous amount of opportunities because
Right.
I think if you don't do that, then you can find yourself doing the same thing over and over and over again and not get to where
Right.
you want to be in life and wonder, like, why am I not where I want to be?
Yes. That's a good point, Graf, because here's the way I see it. Like you mentioned, we're not trained to do that by life. So rest assured, it's nobody's fault. So if you notice, anybody who's listening, notice that why did I ask that kind of question? It doesn't settle well with me. So meaning is more leaning negative instead of empowering. Don't fret over it. The reason you are aware, because now you know. Celebrate that. So that's one of the ways to neutralize fear, actually, Grass. When you notice that you are doing something that is not life giving or negative or limiting, celebrate that awareness because you notice it now. Before you did not. So say, oh, thank you, my infinite side of me, reminding me. Now I can ask a different question. Just move on instead of dwelling here. That is the good thing. Because I know this. The only thing we don't do, I think Maya Angelou was saying this a different way. And she says, when you know better, you do better. So don't condemn not knowing better. That was in the past. But now I know better, so I can do better. Why not? That is actually one way of neutralizing fear. That's a good way of doing it. Asking a different question.
Yeah, I would love to hear, like, I know we talked on the 2 ways. What other 2 ways, does fear kind of manifest itself and show up? Because I think, and I imagine you talking with people and saying, hey, somebody being very, intimate and sharing, like, this is my dream. This is the thing that I want to do. You getting that
Mm-hmm.
opportunity to kind of hold that. I imagine
Mm-hmm.
you see fear come up in so many different ways. And I would love to hear
Yeah.
the other 2 ways, but I imagine that, again, very much so that awareness of like, "Oh, I didn't even realize that was fear," will allow them that are listening to be able to say that, "That
Mm-hmm.
is not actually empowering me. That's not pouring into where I wanna be." So, like, what are some of those other ways that you've seen?
Okay. So the first two I mentioned before was three actually: delay, distraction, dissuasion. Correct? And then there is another way, another thing it shows up where it really hit you hard that you feel weak. The limitation. You feel like a DEF CON. You can't do anything. And that is the freeze, the fight, flight. This is the freeze one. Ooh, you don't know what to do. And you could feel the whole vibration in your body is like, ooh, now, when that happens, this means this is really huge from the point of view of human being because you could feel the whole sensation. Just breathe. Breathe and say this to yourself. This impact that I feel, you may call it whatever, fear, delimitation, whatever. Again, celebrate it. What I want in my life, what I love, must be so big that my old self notice it as if that it couldn't handle it. That's why you feel this sensation. This is the big one when people freeze and say this, oh, I can't handle this. I'm just going to quit. I don't think this is for me. That means your dream is very big. That means that's what it is. Because the only reason, this is the other way we're looking at it. If you don't feel anything, everything is smooth, you don't have any fear, that means your dream is not big enough. Possible to be like that, right? Because everything is comfortable. You already know it. That means it's comfortable. So that means not wrong, but your dream, you can actually still expand it more. Because the bigger your dream is, the bigger the fear sensation in your body. That's what I notice.
I love that because I never thought of it, and I underlined it like 5 times right now to celebrate it, and I think so many times when you have that feeling, even myself, like, when you're thinking through, like, trying things, like, when I was going skydiving, like, "Wait a minute, like, I don't know if this is the thing," or when I started my business, I think it's like, "I don't know if I'm cut out for this. I don't know if this is the
Ah,
thing. Maybe I should just,
mm,
go back and look for a job." I remember, having those conversations and having those feelings, but I think when you now it seems it's such a powerful thing because you start to say, like, "I have that fear," or "This is coming
mhm,
up," rather than to
mhm.
retreat or whatever it might be. Now you can actually celebrate. It's like, "Hey, this is proof that I'm getting outside of my comfort zone." And I imagine when
There
you
you go.
start to have those habits maybe even,
Yes.
then you start to be able to navigate fear a lot better and be able to get to
Yes.
where you wanna be and get outside of that.
Yes, yes, absolutely. There you go. You just hit it because we hear this a lot that step out of your comfort zone or step out of the box. What does it mean actually? So what it means, what you just said, we are so comfortable in life, all our life, the way we learn in school, upbringing, everything experience that we do. We tend to actually look at comfort. Oh, I can handle this. Oh, yeah. So the minute you step out of it means you're exploring something you've never done before. And there was a great wisdom here. Somebody, I can't remember who said it. It says that if you want to experience something you've never done before or something to that effect, you must be willing to do something you've never done to that effect. So tells me exactly what you just said, Grace, and say, the minute I step out of that comfort zone, of course, it's the unknown, fearful. but it's not going to be long. If you could just sustain it a little bit, you'll get used to it. I give an example to my clients usually. Okay, where do you live? Say you live in Georgia and you've never driven by yourself outside of Georgia. Now you have to go to Tennessee. The minute you cross the border and it says, welcome to Tennessee, and you've never been to Tennessee, and you say, oh, I've left my comfort territory. I don't know anybody here. I'm not familiar with the street. In Georgia, I've been many places. I know. That exactly is the same. But is it important enough for me? What is it in Tennessee that I must achieve? Or who do I want to meet? That is your vision and your goal. Is it worth it for me to continue? So, not asking that actually, that's more in the fear thing. You can ask, what joy could I actually experience the minute I reach Nashville, for instance, in Tennessee? Meeting this person that I have been wanting to meet, or exploring this particular project that I've been always wanted to do. So you link yourself, connect yourself with the end result, the destination or the vision, so that going out of this border, crossing the border for you becomes just, I'm heading there. That's in a way to neutralize fear as well.
Yeah, I think you have such a great ability to create these analogies where it's like, okay, there was a time I didn't want to go to Tennessee or go to this other state, and I did that, and I had those feelings, but I still did it, and I explored an entirely different world. And it
There you
kind of
go.
it brought me back to like when I remember when I started my business and I had this interest before I even started the business. I said, hey, I would love to start something. And I told a lot of those people that were closest to me, and I got a lot of like pushback. And like hearing what you just said, like that should have been a really great sign that I should have been celebrating that, because that was me not only pushing my comfort zone probably out of the way, but probably pushing everybody else's comfort zones as well
Absolutely.
too. And I think like so many times when I talk with candidates, it's almost as if, oh, I asked, this person this, and they said, oh, it shouldn't be that. And I almost feel like we have to be very aware and very curious around why is that person giving that piece of advice? It's not saying you don't take the advice, but you start to really question it. You start to evaluate it, might be a better way to say it.
Mm.
Or you could
Yes.
really be stuck in Georgia your entire life if you don't allow yourself that opportunity to at least explore that. So I think it's
Yes.
such a powerful thing that not only do we have the fear and all the feelings and things that we have internally, I often imagine that we also have that environment that we're around as well too that it can kind of cause that too.
Right. And part of that vision is one thing, one important word, actually, Grass. You must love it because love is going to pull you forward. It's not obligation or responsibilities. Some people actually create a dream or a vision of that dream because they think that if I achieve that dreams, I can help my family. I can provide for my family. It's not wrong, but it is actually obligation. A dream and a vision is nothing to do with that. Yes, if you must love it so much that you will do anything. That's what your statement before at the beginning. You will do anything for it, about it, because it's so purposeful. When you achieve it, of course you're gonna be able to help your family, provide for your family, but don't start there. That's not, what's the word I'm looking? It's not drawing you, pulling you forward enough if it's only responsibility and obligation. It must be something you love, because love actually evoke different kind of senses in your body.
Yeah, it ends up being like, and I've heard many times, it ends up being the thing that is powerful enough to get rid of fear. It's like, I mean, we just have me and my wife. We have a 6 month year old now, and it's like
Mm,
here, sometimes when you have a baby or you have anything, you're
mm,
like, wait a minute, like how do I do that?
mm,
Love ends up over
mm,
fear, and I think if we could start to realize that, that
mm.
allows us again to reach, exceed, and probably exceed our potential on the things that we can do. But it's so
Yes.
funny because like when I was having those conversations with people and I say, hey, I want to start a business, and I heard all the things, all the reasons why not to do it. And I think I felt, I'm a big person of faith, and I felt like it was my God given, assignment, honestly. And I felt like
Yes.
even though I heard so much for everybody, the thing that really drove me and still continues to
Mhm,
drive it is that's what I
mhm.
feel like it is. And I think it's that love for entrepreneurship and my maybe obsession, you might even say, that ends up fueling you. And I think that if we can start to identify that abundant mentality, you don't have to choose,
Yes.
hey, can I provide for my
Yes.
family? Can I make a living? Or can I love? You can actually
Mhm.
have and. It's either
Absolutely.
or, it's both and better. I imagine those are phenomenal conversations you get to have.
Absolutely. This could be for a different conversation in identifying or listening to that small voice that's actually coming out. How do I identify that? Because the reason someone has an idea, for instance, and say, "Oh, if I only have a business, what if I can have a business about it?" This kind of idea, to me, where does it come from? From within, from that small voice. That is the truth about you, because growth is a natural order of the universe. Growth. Everybody wants to grow, be more expanded, be freer, be more loving. It's more is the nature of it. If we don't feel that, it's because subconsciously, unconsciously, we have suppressed it because of the noise and say, do you really want to be? No, just be humble. Why do you be more? Why more? You have everything you need. Be grateful with what you have. I grew up with a lot of that kind of thing, Grass, in my younger person, younger beingness, like that. Oh, be grateful. Just, this is good already. What do you think, Grass, is the enemy? The enemy of great.
Enemy of great is well, yeah, it's good, great, and a lot of that is, probably largely because it becomes comfort, it becomes where you're at. It becomes being in
Mhm.
Georgia, not wanting to get over and go to the
Ah, there
next
you go.
state or the next place. And I imagine
Yes.
it's good enough. I think a lot
Yeah.
of times, people, and it's funny, this comes up a lot. And, when I'm having these conversations, it's where is a person's pain point. Like somebody
Uh-huh.
who's getting laid off, their pain point is going to be a lot different than if they're, wanting to add on another business. And if
Very
they're
true.
not
Very
kind
true.
of looking from a very abundant mentality, or they're not a person that
Mhm.
does get outside of their comfort zone, they're going to say, okay, well, I have this
Mhm.
thriving business. Why would I add something else on? Versus
Mhm.
somebody who is not doing good, doing bad potentially, and they have to do good. So I imagine that good ends up being the biggest enemy because people say, "Hey, things aren't bad. They aren't terrible. They could be
Mm.
better, but I'm really good. I'm really
Mm.
grateful. So let me just stay where I am and do what I."
Yeah.
And I imagine that happens so often.
Yes. Yes. That's dissuasion. That's one form of fear. trying to trying to reason with you. This is good enough already. Don't push. There are a lot of other people that, kill for what you have now. Why go more with the risk of losing? Now, that's fear. That's dissuasion, trying to actually stop you or deviate you to something, sway you somewhere else. Yeah, I remember that big thing, the idea of good and great, when I went to school in School of Visual Arts in New York City. They have a big banner always. Don't settle for good when you know you can be great. That's what I say with the School of Visual Arts. I remember that, and I really like that thing. Oftentimes we can actually ask ourselves, is this the voice of things that trying to actually keep me in the good area? Well, I know I can be great. I may not, maybe not know, but I can sense that I can be greater than this. I may not know the step yet, which is okay, but nurture that inclination, that nudge, and say, you can be better than this. You can be much greater than this. So go with that.
Yeah, that ends up being a really powerful place to be. And I love
Mm-hmm.
that you're giving us these, kind of tools and things that we can kind of be aware of because I think awareness is definitely the start. But I imagine like one of the things I want to ask around is like there's people that maybe are listening to this and have always operated in fear. It's the
Mm-hmm.
normal. That's, what's known,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that so much is probably put on us from fear where we can talk around things around media. We can talk
Mm-hmm.
around, things of people that are projecting things. All these things happen that I almost feel like there's more of a environment of you can't rather than how can you. So can people start to, for lack of a
Mm-hmm.
better term, train themselves to be aware, also to take, those steps towards, operating more in I guess, a place of abundance and possibility.
Here's the mask is that reflect on this statement and say, everything that I'm fearful of, fear usually is because I feel I'm unqualified or I don't have the means or I don't have something, right? That's why I'm fearful. Now, know this. Everything you want in life, everything you dream of, that you love, is already here. You haven't met it in person, so meaning it's not right in front of you, what you love. It doesn't mean it's not here. I just know that because I'm sure everybody who's listening right now have experienced an out of the blue experience. They don't know what's going on, they don't know, and then just suddenly a sudden somebody showed up or something actually became an answer in the past. I'm sure everybody has experienced it. Now, here's the key. If you have experienced something like that, that means you can repeat it again. So that's how you settle fear or neutralize fear. Another way, another tools to do that. So just be this and say, I am fearful now, or I fear of doing something. That means I'm exploring something. I am actually answering this call to move forward. Show me. You can actually dialogue with the infinite. You can call it God, Spirit, the infinite, Allah, Jesus, whatever name to this power. You can just show it to me that I won't miss it. Somebody like Grass is going to show up on that path. How did you meet me, Grass? See? We don't have to dwell on how we meet. We met because each of us has already broadcasting this vibration of seeking collaboration, seeking an answer, seeking. So when you fear something, you can just now say, up until then, up until now, I had that. But now that's in the past. I'm moving forward. From this point onward, I'm opening myself to receive guidance, mentoring, solution, answer, whatever you want to call it. I can guarantee you it will show up as long as you open yourself and say, yes, I'm ready to receive, ready to receive. That's the best thing that happened to me many, many times. But if we continue dwelling on, but I'm fearful, I've never, no, you're going that way. You're in the past. If you want to move, just simple thing. That's in the past. From this point onward, I'm open. Bring it on. Somebody or something is going to show up. I just know it.
Absolutely. I love that. And it kind of being open to opportunity because I think so many times, taking that action, but also being open because I think so many times we could say, hey, we're looking for this exact thing. And
Yeah.
sometimes it comes in a completely different way. And it's the opportunity that we're looking for, but we're not open to what those things look
There
like.
you
So
go. There you go. That's powerful. That's powerful, Grass. Because I remember a quote that says, when the student is ready, the teacher will show up. To me, the teacher is always there. It didn't show up in my mind because I wasn't looking or I was looking somewhere else. The teacher has always been there. So that is the power, what you just said. Definitely. And it can be very quick. It can amaze you. It can amaze you when it's so quick and you say, what's going on? That means the universe is giving you an example. Hey, look at this.
I had to look over my shoulder because I have this, books everywhere. It said, what you seek is seeking you. And I think that ends up being one of the powerful things is that you're literally looking for
Yes.
something that is literally looking for you as already.
Yes.
And
Already
sometimes you
there.
just have to be and have that openness. So I love this conversation. I feel like
Yes.
we scratched the surface and I love that us taking action and connecting and is creating opportunities for us to collaborate, but also many of the people that are looking for this. But Inga, for people that are listening to this and they want to connect with you, they want to find out more. They say, hey, I have this quiet voice that's speaking to me about doing something. I'm not sure how to do it and I need some direction, things like that. What's the best way for them to connect and have those conversations?
Go to my website. You can go to my website through two different ways. My name, so ingemaskun.com, ingemaskun.com. Or this may actually be much easier, www.livingyourinspiredlife.com. It will take you the same way. And then just go to the contact me, tell me. I can set up a complimentary 30 minutes with anybody who's interested, and we can talk more about this. Do not disregard the nudge that's coming to you from just listening to this for 45 minutes. Whatever ideas, take action immediately. Just call somebody, go to the website, reach out to Gresham, whatever. Do not stop it. Do not stop the flow of idea that is showing up for you. Life is so good. No hard thing. We make it hard. Nothing is hard. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It's this idea of getting out of your own way. And I think we'll definitely, have the information as well too. Franchising is something that you're thinking about, starting a business, whatever that might look like. Definitely we'll have that information, below in the show notes as well too, to include starfranchise.com. I think so many times, as Inga says so well, is like we can be and stop ourselves sometimes because we're so close to, we literally experience that mistake that happened or that thing that happened before. But again, if we dwell on that thing and we don't continue to move forward, we don't celebrate the opportunity that we have those feelings. Those feelings are actually signs that we can do and be
Yeah.
more than we sometimes thought we could. But sometimes that happens by just having conversations. So,
Yeah.
Inga is definitely open conversations. I am as well too. And, we definitely hope that, that dream, the purpose, the business, the whatever it is that you're thinking about, you open yourself up to those opportunities and you take that action sometimes by just reaching out and having that conversation. So Inga, appreciate you so much. And yeah, I hope you have.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'm sending all the love to everybody who's listening. Listen to that thing brings you aliveness in life. Answer it.
Absolutely.